Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. I've got a slightly different video for you this time. I'm actually going to do a video of a product that's actually been supplied to me by another company called Bluetti. Now in the past I have done product reviews, but this is the first time that I'm actually going to share something where a company has provided me the equipment. Now I'd only tend to do that if it's a product that I believe in, or if I believe it's a product that's going to add value to our van life. I've been approached several times before and I've always turned those companies down because it doesn't fall into that bracket. I believe this particular product, which is a EB55 portable power station, is something that actually I was looking for over the past 6 to 12 months when I've been looking for it. You may be wondering why I'm interested, because you all know that I've actually already got a portable device already, the PowerOak AC50S, that actually we bought 4 years ago now when we actually bought Harry. We purchased a portable device for really recharging and just giving us some extra portable battery capability within the van. And that served us well. We had the solar panels with it, and that allowed us to charge when we were wild camping. It's been really good. However, it does have its limitations, and those limitations are it's 300 watts, which means anything above that it will just trip out and not work. And that has started to limit me in what I wanted to do. So my Amazon account over the past 6 to 12 months has I've got a few devices in there that have ported to be being 300 watts. But in fact are probably just over, enough to trip it out. I was looking for a bigger capacity unit, which is what the EB55 portable battery is. It's actually 700 watts, so it's more than double the capacity of my existing system. So what I'm hoping it will do, it will allow me to do things like boil a travel kettle, which we make lots of cups of teas we're on the go. So if I can take the pressure off the LPG gas, it just gives me different options. So I'd like to be able to boil a kettle and boil water to make a cup of tea. I'd also like to, on the odd occasion, maybe cook from it in an emergency situation. So there are small electrical devices that are 300, 600 watt devices that allow me to do that, and I'm hoping that this will actually do that. And then there's other devices that will just make van life that bit easier. So Jane's got a hairdryer that, again, the older PowerOak couldn't cope with, but I'm hoping again this 700 watt will be able to cope with that. I'm going to share with you the pros and the cons that I come across as I go and test it. Now, as you guys probably know, I'm not very technical, certainly not electrically technical, and so whilst I'll give you all the technical facts and specs, I'm going to focus on this review on practically what does it do, how long does it take to charge, how long does it take to boil a kettle, how many times can I boil a kettle if it does it, can I cook with it on one of those small cook pot type devices, and if so, how many meals could I get out of it, and what other sort of devices have I got that I've failed to be able to use before that maybe I can use and take with us in the van. So let's get cracking. Let's open the box, let's see what comes with it. Now what I will say is that I actually haven't got the solar panels on that. I think if this works out, it may be something that I will go and purchase those solar panels. We'll get those solar panels to work with it, because we wild camp and we would definitely use that, because we use that on the older PowerOak. So at the moment it's purely just going to be focusing on the EB55 itself. So in the box, let's open it up, see what we get. Looks like we get the usual box of the manual, so we'll put that to one side as usual. And then there's the device itself. Let's put the box away. So it comes out like that. In the box of bits is obviously, I'm guessing, all the cables that come with that. So we get a brick charger. So yeah, that's pretty big, I'll have to say. It was quite big on the old PowerOak and that. I know some devices put all these units into this, but I suppose all that means is actually the device itself is bigger itself in its design. So it's a separate one, and I won't use this all the time because my aim is to probably only use this if we're actually hooked up, or maybe at the start of a trip when we charge it before we leave home and that. So there's one of those. I'm guessing there's a 3-pin plug in here somewhere. Obviously for the UK market, you get a 3-pin plug. We've got the, this is for the in-car 12 volt charger. So it's got the normal 12 volt connector type, and it's got this type of connection which is slightly different to the one I had on the Power Oak. It looks like it's a DC MPPT. Doesn't mean anything to me, but it's a slightly different fitting. That will go in there by the looks of it. And it also comes with, by the looks of it, the solar cable, should you buy the solar panel to connect to. So that's all ready to go. So again, that's got the same connector as the 12 volt lighter, so that will fit in there. And it comes with a small strap for the cables to try and make the cables tidy. So that's it, that's all you get in the box. So from a build quality perspective, it's pretty solid. It's in this grey, so instead of that bright orange I've got, perhaps it'll be a bit more less visible in the van from the outside if anybody's peering in, so perhaps that's a good thing. And there's a single handle on top there, which looks pretty robust as well. From a port perspective, it's got 2 AC ports. So for the UK, there are 3-pin ports, 220, 240 volts. That's where you get there's the 700 watts from that perspective. We've got also we've got 4 USB A ports here, and also a USB-C. That's 100 watts. That is. So overall the unit's a 700 watt device, and it's 537 watt hours. And from an input perspective, we've got this DC MPPT type cable. So that's we've seen that where they looks like they're using that for the 12 volt connection into the vehicle, and also for the solar, and then for the power brick, effectively that goes into this adapter here that they've got. And then from a DC output perspective, they've also got a 12 volt, if you like, cigarette type connector, and they've also got a 12 volt, a couple of 12 volt 10 amp type connectors there. And then there's this display here. I wish it was a bit more granular in the percentage. It goes up in 20% figures, but it's got the input and output wattage that's being used and that. But I guess that's enough for what you need to know. You need to know if there's enough charge in there, etc. But it's not micro charge, and there's no app to it either. And then on the top there's also a wireless charging, which is 15 watts, and I know that's 5 watts more than actually what was on the Power Oak, so that's a higher rating as well. And then from the back of the unit, there's nothing on the back apart from this light, and the light's got 2 intensities by the looks of it, and it's also got an emergency, which you wonder why the hell I'm going to use that, but when you need to know it and use it, at least you've got something you can put out there to actually show a distress call. I must admit, it's actually looking a bit smaller than I thought it would do, being over twice the capacity. I was expecting it to be perhaps a bigger unit, which is a good thing, because that's one of my constraints. Is I haven't got a big van, and floor space, etc. is always a premium. Now I know you can get bigger device than that, you can get very large capacity outputs with all sorts, but this is all about balance. This is all about what type of van you've got, and what are you trying to achieve in that van. So I want something that's more capacity, but I don't want it to be cumbersome. I expected it to be bigger than what I had before, because that was only a 300 watt device. This is 700 watts. This is more than double. But in fact, actually, if you put it just quickly side by side, you can see the height of it. There's nothing in it, and the same with the width. And actually, there's not a lot in it in the length either. So I'm pretty impressed. So I've ticked one of my boxes where I need it to be, small enough to be in a sort of small to medium sized van that we've got with Harry. So apparently there's 6 ways to charge. There's the standard AC way from your house or from a hookup. You've got solar, which I won't be doing because I haven't got the panels. You've got from your car or vehicle. to do it. You've then got a combination of AC and solar, generator or dual AC. I say I'll put all the actual details on the screen, but I'm going to focus mainly on van charging for me, and also how long it takes to charge from home. So we'll go and do those tests. I'm going to drain the battery down and basically charge it back up and see how long it takes. It's reportedly it's going to take around 3 hours to charge from the house, from the 220-240 volts from a household socket, and then it should be around about, I think, 6.1 hours for a van, but it'll be less than that. And again, I'll put the stats up if you've got 24 volts. The majority of the time when we're charging it'll be when we're driving, so that'll be in the 12 volt side of the van, so we'll be using that port to be doing that. We're going on a 3.5 hour drive today, so it'll be interesting to see. It's completely discharged at the moment, it's 0 at the moment. We'll see how far that gets charged up in 3.5 hours, then we'll also monitor to see how long it takes to get to fully charged. So one of the key things it needs to do is be small enough to fit here. We have other things between us as well as we're driving, so it needs to fit here so we can easily charge it. So that fits okay. Okay, so we've been on about a 5 hour journey so far, and it's looking like it's charged between 60 and 80%. I think it's probably closer to 80%, and I reckon another hour will probably do that. So that's about another hour and a half and we're now fully charged. For us, that works well. So the next test I want to do is how long does it take to actually charge it up using the 240 volts from home, or if I was on hookup. So I've drained the unit right back down again, and then we'll time it and we'll see how long that takes. So we're just coming up to the hour and a half point, and it says it takes about 3 hours at 200 watts input. We're just above the 40%, so it's between 40 and 60% now. So we're coming up to 2 hours 23 minutes. It's now in the last 20% to charge, so it's done 80% so far. It's between 80 and 100. Interestingly enough, the input wattage is now dropping slowly. I'm guessing that's a sign that it's getting towards the end of its fully charged. In fact, I think we've just caught it reaching full capacity. There we go. That was lucky. So that was 2 hours 23 minutes. As I said, it says 3 hours on the spec sheet at 200 watts. It was just slightly above that, so that's pretty good. So the next test I'm going to do is one I'm really looking forward to, which is boiling water. So I've got a travel kettle that I've never used before. It's a Quest travel kettle. I don't know if it's any good. It had fairly good reviews. It's got a power requirement of 600 watts. So it should do it on the face value of it, and we'll put a set amount of water in, and then what I'll do, as long as that works, which it wouldn't do on the Power Oak, but I'll see if it does it on the on this Bluetti, and then if it works we'll find out how many charge from a fully charged, how many times I can actually boil the kettle cold water. So we switched it on for the first time. It's reached 616 watts. It's got half a litre of water in there, and we'll see how long that takes to boil. The good news is it hasn't tripped out, so test number 1 is achieved. And there we go for the first boil. So that'll automatically switch off. That's taken about 3.5 minutes. There we go, first boil done. Now I'm going to boil the kettle as many times as I can to use up the power, so this is going to take some time. Bear with me. Number 2. So we're on the third boil now, so we've used about 20% so far. It takes about 3.5 minutes to boil. Now I'm well aware that somebody out there is going to say, because they're electrical minded, yeah, there's this sort of calculation, you just got to do this, and you can find out how many times you can boil the kettle. I just don't believe in them sometimes. I just want to do it practically. It's a bit like when you buy a car and it says it can do so many miles to the gallon. It never does. So that's number 7 boil done. We're in the last 20%, so I think it'll do that one alright. I'm not quite sure if it's going to do an 8th one. I'm fed up with drinking tea, to be honest. Wonder if Jane wants one. Well, we're going for number 8. Let's see. I've got the red power warning on the left here. Bad sign is the wattage is dropping, so I don't think it can keep up with the watts that it wants. Oh, I can hear the kettle boil. Come on, will it? Won't it? Will we get that last cup of tea? It might make all the difference. Place your bets. Is it going to boil before it drops out? I think it's going to boil. You can feel the tension in the room. Number 8. So that's good. You know, that's more than what we need, because we're not going to boil it 8 times. We'll boil it once and then we'll be moving on, probably travelling on to the next destination, which means it will be recharged. So for us, that's a definite positive, because the other one didn't do it. Okay, so the other test I wanted to do was a cooking test to see if I could use the Bluetti EB55 to actually cook with, which I haven't been able to do up to now. We've proven that we can actually boil water with, which is great, but on occasion we may want to cook a meal with it. Again, that saves on gas, but equally if we've got problems with sourcing gas, it's another way of using a different power source to do that. So the setup I've got is the EB55 fully charged up, and then I've got a small low wattage cook pot device called a Hytric in this particular case. I've never used it before. It's a 300 watt and a 600 watt setting device. I actually got onto it through Wizard in the Wild, so go check their channel out because they do a great review of this. I'll put the links in the description. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cook a pilaf, which is one of our favourite meals in the van, to see if we can cook it on this device on the EB55 and see how much power it actually takes up. So first test to make sure it actually works at 300 and 600 watts. So I've just powered it on there. It's going on, that's onto the 300 watt setting. Currently it's at 255 watts. So I'm just going to put some oil in and fry the chicken off first. I'm going to turn that up to the higher setting now, 600 watts. So that's gone already up to 665 watts as it's gone into that higher power. I'm going to turn it down now to 300 watts. So I've been cooking for about 30 minutes now. We are still got 60% there, so we haven't got into the 60% time, so that will easily do one meal. Pilaf isn't the easiest meal. You could probably do a meal in 20 minutes if you got cooked chicken, and you could have the quick rice, which is 2 or 3 minutes on top. Pretty good test in as much as we can definitely do one meal. So during the day you could have a couple of teas, 2 or 3 teas, boiling the teas and a meal. Actually that's all effectively free power that you're using. So let's try a couple of devices that we used to fail to use on the Power Oak, one of them being Jane's hairdryer. So if I could get this working, she's going to be well pleased. So a lot of brownie points if I can if this will actually work. It's a 600 watt, 700 watt device, depending on whether it's 220, 240 volts according to the label. So let's see how it goes. Okay, it's got several settings. So first of all, it's just got a cold setting. So that's working, it's drawing 178 watts at the moment. So that's on the first setting, heat setting. That's drawing 415 watts. So that's working fine. So I should be pleased with that. And let's go up to the highest setting. So that's gone up to 623 watts. I'm going to be in the good books. Perfect. She doesn't use it for long, she only uses it for a couple of minutes. So that'll make a huge difference to her. So obviously one of the key things I want to make sure I can do is obviously recharge my laptop, my MacBook Air in this particular case. The other one, the Power Oak used to do it, so I know it'll work. It's just a matter of how many times I could recharge from a fully charged Bluetti. I've completely discharged the MacBook and I've completely charged up the Bluetti. So we'll just start that off. So that's now charging that around about 23 watts off the Bluetti. So that's just coming up to 100% charge. It's at 98% at the moment. It's just about 1 hour 50 minutes, so it's be about 2 hours for my laptop, but each laptop's going to be different in charge times. But it's just gone into the 80%, so it's taken about 20% of the battery charge to do that, so therefore it's probably going to charge the laptop fully for probably about 5 times in total. Okay, so I've loaded all the ports up for charging up. It's pulling about 82 watts at the moment. I've got my DJI mics, a couple of power banks, the GoPro batteries all coming off the USB ports. I've got the USB-C, which is doing the drone. Off the 2AC, we've got the my laptop and also my screen, my video screen, as well as off this DC output where I've got just using the extra capabilities of that and charging up the switch. So as you can see, it does more than enough than what I need, and obviously I can also put my phone on top to charge as well. Okay, so with respect to pros and cons, so let's start with the cons. There's not that many cons, to be perfectly honest, and I'm really nitpicking here. The display could be better with respect, it's only up in 20% increments. It'd be good if that was more accurate, or if there was an app, but that's minor. That wouldn't stop me buying it. Lots of pros with it being a 700 watt device, which also has a 1400 watt surge protection, so if you've got a device that will actually surge up and then come back down to 700 watts, it will be able to handle that. That's really opened the range of devices that we can use and improve our van life. Being able to boil a travel kettle, being able to cook a couple of meals perhaps, and also to be able to use it on devices like Jane's hairdryer will actually just improve the quality of van life and also resiliency. So if we are having problems with gas, then we have alternatives. I think with respect to the ports, there seems to be enough ports in there to charge everything I want to, and I have lots of devices because of filming, so that's not going to restrict me at all. So there's plenty there. From an input perspective, I think there's many options in charging. We will tend to use the solar. We'll also use obviously the in-vehicle charging method, as well as the mains charge, whether we're before a trip or whether we're hooked up. So I think those three are the main ones for me, but there's other options as well if you look at the technical specs that are worth looking at. So overall, we will be using this device going forward. You'll see it in all our videos, and we'll keep on reporting on the performance of the device as we use it, but I'm quite encouraged by what it's going to give us. I will put all the links to the Bluetti site so you can get all the technical specs off that site. So I hope you've enjoyed the review. It's a slightly different style of review. It's less techy and more practical, and I hope you find that useful.